Namo Dhamma Shri So Chidang Zogi Chuna La Janjo Manu Nandi Gyaltsen Dagi Chunye Gibe Tsonangi Dola Benje Sangye Juba Shu Chidang Zogi Chuna La Janjo Manu Nandi Gyaltsen Dagi Chunye Gibe Tsonangi Dola Benje Sangye Juba Shu Chidang Zogi Chuna La Janjo Manu Nandi Gyaltsen Dagi Chunye Gibe Tsonangi Dola Benje Sangye Juba Shu Begi Joji Medo Zhang, Rinra Lingxi Nide Genpa Di, Sangye Shindo Mide Waye, Chogun Nanda Xin La Juba Zhu, Idan Guru Rana Mandala Kani Yadaya Mi. Please adjust your sitting posture according to 7 meditative postures of Vairochana. And think, all sentient beings have been my mothers. And all sentient beings have been my mothers for numberless times. They are as kind as my mothers of this life. Even though all kind mother sentient beings want happiness and do not want even a small suffering. However, due to engaging wrongly in objects of adoptions and abandonment, they do not even experience happiness for a moment. In our minds, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings, thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mother sentient beings had excellent happiness. I will cause all kind mother sentient beings may all kind mother sentient beings have excellent happiness. I will cause all kind mother sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we generate compassion towards all suffering mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if the body of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as pain, sickness, and problems caused by 4 elements. May the body of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the body of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue, mental suffering, fear, and coarse and subtle conceptual thoughts. May the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the speech of all suffering mothers and sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue, coarse and subtle negative speech such as telling lies. May the speech of all suffering mothers and sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the speech of all suffering mothers and sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. In brief, how nice it would be if the three doors of all suffering mothers and sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. May the three doors of all suffering mothers and sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the three doors of all suffering mothers and sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. I will free all sentient beings from suffering and its causes. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we generate bodhicitta by asking ourselves, who should take on the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms. I should take on the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms. However, I do not have the ability to do so now. Who has the ability? Only those who have achieved the perfect, complete enlightenment have the abilities to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind, the aspiring conventional bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. These transform into a white mundis at one's heart. And the ultimate bodhicitta, that is one's mind becoming in one taste with emptiness, the lack of inherent existence. These transform into a white five-pronged vajra on top of the mundis. Next, we meditate on emptiness for a short while. That I neither exists intrinsically one with, nor intrinsically different from the aggregates. Thus, I do not exist intrinsically.
That is another opportunity to see both the creation and come to do by them. Just a question to find money is so much. Or to someone machine. And don't seem by you be was some machine. I want to choose in that. Yes, I was a call, cheer up here. Here's some chick. The mother taught the teaching you a teacher the Padu is at the league song of the Tubalina. As you be this.
And as I always mention, it is very important to conjoin our the virtues of our three doors with the practice of perfection, with the practice of six perfections, and we must try to do so. So the first one is generosity, and generosity is a minds of giving or intentions of giving. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I do it for the sake of purifying the sufferings of sentient beings and achieving the excellent happiness of sentient beings.
That is another conduct. Sutras was a point in the teaching was in the sheep. Our lingering the song of the cheap because of that you are in Jing along with the major. Indeed, the Jing about Tony, the point on it on that the song was to this Chevina. Yes.
Next is morality. Morality is a mind of abandonment. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will abandon my physical and verbal negativities so that they do not manifest.
That is what is the passion symbol. That's about the matter of the symbol, the was in the machine. And the song was a Chebaka. Because the Sera, the way the Kangi Kati by the Sutu by the Ligitone, and the song was Chevina. This is the passion in this.
Next is patience. The nature of patience is an undisturbed mind. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will embrace whatever physical or mental hardships. I will embrace all physical and mental hardships.
All of the pages of the Giola tourism of the Tunisian was on the ship. And the song was Chebala, the Segawa, the Toa, since you should saying about a Gawa to it and quickly.
Next is joyous effort. Joyous effort is a mind that takes delight in virtue. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I take delight in accomplishing virtue and working for the sake of all sentient beings.
That is one of the strategic personality symbol of Sunday sword. Say gave me about Corolla, take the name by the Sunday was some Banashi. And the song was cheap because of that said the not to the Naya of the song. Said it, the song was a GB shower till I said me to buy a wish to buy enough. This Sunday personality symbol, yes.
Next is meditative concentration. Meditative concentration is a mind that single-pointedly focuses on any intended object, any virtuous object. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will focus my mind on the intended virtuous object and not influenced by conceptual thoughts and distractions.
That is the shadow personality symbol, the shadow of the shadow of the shadow some machine. And the song goes to Chibi. See that turn country in a terms of the Bayapu, the Shetuba, Shijimono, Bayapu, the Shetuba, Chubaina, I hear a personality, yes.
Next is wisdom. Wisdom is an awareness that thoroughly distinguishes phenomena. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will try my best to understand the meaning of the words and the meaning. So the meaning of the words, of the teachings.
That is what you know, Giatilla. I can't suggest transited sanji combatant the chile ambitious and nane second the chile this is la prima the start to finish the wishes
set a good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this purpose, I will listen to the holy teachings and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
oh yeah thank you
That's so. So I received the questions and then probably I translated incorrectly last week. So just to clarify what Dishala mentioned last week. So there is the questions is about the definitions of object is that which is known when we talk about the definitions of object in general is that which is known by an awareness. So last week then we also mentioned about as long as it is an object, is necessarily known by or necessarily known or realized by a valid cognizer. So there is pervasion because there is no object that is not realized by omniscience. So this is what probably the question is all about, because I translated incorrectly last week. Then many questions follows. So just to clarify this, as long as it is an object, is necessarily realized by a valid cognizer. There is pervasion because there is no object that is not realized by omniscience. So I hope this clarifies.
Sheila, I don't quite understand.
Any more questions? Sally, you say. Oh, sorry, Sally, you say something. We didn't hear anything. Sorry.
No. Pin got something to say.
Yeah. So now with this clarification, you that all object has been known by valid cognizer. And from there, the next sentence, I don't quite understand. So there is pervasion, maybe you can elaborate further. There is pervasion. So these three words. And then because there's no object which is not realized by an omniscient, correct? But how about ordinary mind? Because last week you say it's not an ordinary mind. So I want to know whether all objects which known by valid cognizer also can, this valid cognizer or the mind, the awareness, also belong to ordinary people.
Oh, object. Okay. Yeah. So the condition kasati yu tamjela yu inaro tangi ne de yu ina ne semi toba chawa yimbe kyap de namkingi matobe yu ji yomarwa eni de kongi ande condition bare yu tamjela yu tamji sete yu tamji semi toba chawa yimbe kyap de eni kasa yang kyap giore yang susu giwogi semaina da namkingi semaina da yang de togi oresa yu tamjela.
이 관계도 잡는 것은 조지 정말 이 관계도 잡는 것은 그래서 하저에 배나 연계 차이 정수 조금 sensible 좀 있어 좀 신경 써봐야 되는 거 있어. 네, 그래서 이 연계 차이 정수.
Yeah, so there is pervasion also means that it is necessarily so because. So there is pervasion because you can also understand it as it is necessarily so because. And
이제 참고도 여러 가지. 팩터 여러 가지 그래서 저 지금 그 말을 신세 봐봐야 돼. 이런 것도 또
Yeah, so just now then then you say that all phenomena all phenomena are realized by valid cognizer, and then that also includes the ordinary beings as well. So if you use the word all phenomena or all objects, then if you say all objects, then it's not necessarily that is not necessarily realized by a valid cognizer of ordinary beings, because a subtle karmic cause and effect, it is an object, but is not realized by a valid cognizer of an ordinary beings, because ordinary beings cannot realize it. Not even a bodhisattva can realize the subtle karmic cause and effect.
Yeah, but the gross ones, because all objects also include gross.
Yeah, because otherwise I.
Yeah.
So, did you say something? Did you say something just now?
Correct. If it's so, then since there's perversion, then all objects also include gross impermanent. That gross impermanent is known by the mental continuum of ordinary people, isn't it? If you want to say all, then it also necessarily.
I didn't say all. Yeah. I say as long as it is an object.
No, it said if it is an object.
If it is an object, yeah.
Yeah, if it's an object, this object can also be gross impermanence, gross way of cause and effect, which is known by the ordinary mind. If we say it an object, which is general object. Just wondering. No, my first question to you, to Geshe-la in my WhatsApp is why we want to differentiate an awareness which is belong to exalted knower or omniscient. Why we want to differentiate in this context when we study Sautantrika? Why want to highlight this object is known by exalted knower? This the sentence. Why not all awareness belonging to anyone? Because object can be anything, a tree, a bowl. Why we want to emphasize this object is realized by an omniscient mind or exalted knower.
Ini kasa tambo ina di you ina ini di yang pena chashana yang kasa you rapa rabo yorwa singdong rabo ina ini yang susu kiwo gi tsema yang di to tu yorwa. Ini di
solo topo korea more medo de zu tama de zu jo ingos do gura ji shi ingos do to gure ji ke sha mari de da ni ni ba sha yi ji ce de ke sha mari su jo tsema de jie ma do是老有mari su jo ma nga chu ni ji che ba ko su medo chin de gure mi to gure chang de gura de li su jo tsema de ji ma do 老有 ma da shi 야, 저거 미시게 배 나도 때 칸바 동굴에 미시게 바게 배 지 동굴에 치 동굴에 상주 동굴에 정말 동굴도 왔어. 근데 뭐또 계제 심로 말이지.
Yeah, so it says that if it is an object, it's necessarily realized by a valid cognizer, right? Then there is pervasion because, or it is necessarily so because there is no object that is not realized by an omniscience. So when we say that is necessarily realized by a valid cognizer, and then is necessarily so, it is necessarily so because there is no object that is not realized by omniscience, then doesn't eliminate, it doesn't remove that ordinary valid cognizer cannot realize an object. So there are eye consciousness, seeing flowers or seeing flowers and etc. So that's why I said at the beginning, I said I translated wrongly. So now I clarify. Yeah. So now when we say that if it is an object, then it's necessarily realized by a valid cognizer. So it is necessary so because there is no object that is not realized by an omniscient. There is no object that is not realized by omniscience. And when we say that, doesn't mean that ordinary beings, they do not realize an object.
Okay, Geshe-la. Thank you.
I would understand. Yeah. Yeah. That was the time when we were considering. That young your body the cheetah taddy knees, cheetah taddy knees in war. Your body the cheetah taddy knees. 지되게 전에 가서 이제 뭐 주시면 스스로 매일 주기 전에 스스로 주기 다들 전에 스타들 뭐 주시면 그냥 이제 뭐 지와
To continue where we left last week. So again, existence have two divisions. We are in Sautantika school, and again, existence have two divisions: single phenomena and different phenomena. And then previously, I also talked about the definitions of single phenomena and different phenomena. So the definitions of single phenomena is a phenomenon that is not diverse, and different phenomena. The definitions of different phenomena is phenomena that are diverse.
다 지기 전에 수도 많이 비치지 지기 전에 소소치 다되기 전에 다 지기 전신다고 샤바이나다 맞아 대신 기회에 야세미도 다 야세미도 지기 전신 로 예 이만으로 지기 전신은 지금 다 다디세와라 가서 이제 현능이 되잖아요. 샤쇼다 호쇼니 샤쇼다 호쇼니 다대로 되게 되셨는데 예 거를 샤지 거르다 무지 거르니 니 샤는 되게 다디 지시로
So the illustrations of a single phenomena is, for example, rose, sunflower. So those are the illustrations of single phenomena. And different phenomena, the illustrations, for example, east and south directions, east directions and south directions, or the snow mountain at east directions and south directions. So these are the illustrations for different phenomena.
당어서 디성당 시고래 간자 오 타데라 도파 타데 인구에서 오 타데라 도파 타데 차부에서 간다 오 타데라 도파 타데 인구에서 더 도파 타데라 오 타데 인구 말에서 그래서 도파 타데라 오 타데라 도파 타데 인구 차부에서 오 타데라 도파 타데 인구에서 와더 도파 타데라 오 타데 인구 말에서 이 무기 전제 가서는 가서 에로와 제보다 못하바니다 뭐 다들 말해서 도파 다들에서 제보다니 와 제보다 못하바니 가서 다들이 와 제보다 못하바니 다들에서 소치리에서 뭐 다들 말해서 도파 다들에서 보다 도파 다들다 제보 못하바서 소소소 제보서 제보랑 제보의 간다 시기도 봐 미다바 코나 소소 소소소 도파 어디요? 와. 어떤 도파 타딜라. 뭐 타딜이 뭐 타딜라. 또 도파 타딜이. yes.
Yeah, so when we talk about a different entity, so different entity is necessarily different isolates. So different entity is necessarily different isolates. Different isolates is not necessarily different entity. So I repeat, different entity is necessarily different isolates. Different isolates is not necessarily a different entity. The reason is, for example, product and impermanent phenomena. So product and impermanent phenomena, they are not different entity, but they are different isolates, because the product and impermanent phenomena, they are phenomena that are diverse. So product has its own isolates, so products isolates, and impermanent phenomena has its own isolate, which is isolates of impermanent phenomena.
시자의 진세 다 따바의 샤전 지거리 시자의 진세 시자는 지단 지전 따바니 와 시자의 지전 따바です아야 맞아 시자 이나 따바니 못잖아 지금 와
시자 있나
시자 이나 따바니 자고 말해서 말이다 매도다 So Hindu concise 시절에 되는 답은 말와 지난 시절 답은 예서 지전 시절 답은 예서 진비지 진세 다 진세의 답은 진세 된다 지바로 봐 답은 진세 된다 지바로 다 답은 리컨다 저는 이제 진비지 시절의 진세 진비지 예샤说
Single phenomena can be divided into false singles and true singles. So objects of knowledge in general and generally characterized phenomena are examples of false singles. So false object of knowledge, generally characterized phenomena, permanent phenomena are examples of false singles. So when we talk about objects of knowledge in general, object of knowledge is permanent. So then you might have a question. So if it is an object of knowledge, is it necessarily a permanent phenomena? Then the answer is no. For example, flowers. So object of knowledge in general is permanent. However, if it is an object of knowledge, is it necessarily a permanent phenomena? No, because they are flowers.
다 진비 타데세로 진비 지디시로 다 진비 타데데 진비 타데라 다 담보지로
덴비
덴비 지도 당여보다 못하바 되게 다 예수자인 봐 당여보다 못하바다 리레네 다 힌두리레네 가르샤기네 지 이제 인신체 지 가르샤는 되고 다서 섬으로와 덴비보다 덴비 지서 덴비 지서 이제 인신체라 지 가르이네 상디고 다 간다 다샤나 디그레 시미샤나 디그레 치샤나 디그레 저 가르샤나 디고 당여보다 못하바 선데 이제 샤도와
지샤나 디그로 하잖아.
가르치샤나 디고 가르샤나 다 sama 레레레 찬도샤자 디고 간다.
And functioning thing and impermanent phenomenon are examples of true singles. So for you can also give the example of a tree, or as long as it is a compounded phenomena, then you can give give an example of uncompounded phenomena. For example, trees, flowers. So those are the example of true singles.
다 님바 타데라 진비 타데라 덴비 타데 니셰보다요. 그와 다 진비 타데스나 다 봄비 도바다 까이 도바니세 지당 아주 봄비 도바 다 따바니세 까이 도바 따바니세 나 봄비 도바 까이 도바니가 따바레 그와 다 정말서 피쳤다니 히트나 티즈 거다 어서 저기가 이나 피쳐마다 지라다만데 티즈 뭐 두고 그래서 봄비 도바 샤 슬리 봄바마다 해가게 샤요. kasi pumbi dopa ki sha sala ina pumba mata sha ke yo man
pumbi dopa sha
pumbi dopa sho osna pumba khona chi chi la mata sinda yo man ta chi chana pumbi dopa ta ba ris kai ta ta dang lo jin so pumbi dopa kai dopa ni
ti ta ba
res mo ta de jimbi thadi derda ta pumbi dopa da kai dopa ni ka thadi ro wa ni ka thadi ro wa ni ka ta ba ro wa o ta jimbi thadi.
So the different phenomena can be divided into false difference and true difference. The two, a pots isolates and a pillars isolates, is an example of a false difference. So pots isolate and pillars isolate, they are both permanent.
다 님바 덴비 타데 신도 덴비 타데 다 봄바다 까와니다 무샤도 다 덴비 타데 다 봄바다 까와니다 다 간다 that is the content the check and in any charge and devoted.
So the and true difference, the two, a pot and a pillar, is an example of a true difference. So you can give any two compounded phenomena. So a flower and trees, for example. So here the example given is a pot and a pillar. Then you can also name other example like a flower and a tree. Then is an example of a true difference.
다 안데보다 몽번이 따바와 샤그레다 엔도 데버 원데 몽이 따바와다 다 다다와다 거 된지세 이거고 다 다다와다 거 된다 지바레 다다와다 거 된지 인데 몽이 따바 샤고다 진진다 데버와
So for Vaibhashika, past and future are both permanent, and present and thing are mutually inclusive.
당부 들다. 나빠 유진이 됐을 때. 당가도 그 마진 거야. 이다 유진이 됐을 때. 단도 대발 간다 분비지. 당가 유진이 왔더라. 자다 로 강사 송내고. 지난 유진이 자 로 강사 송내고. 유진이
미기시
요다.
미기시 시기요나. 미기시 시기요나. 민도 나서. 자 로 단 강사.
자다 로 강사 송자는 거지. 지난 유진이 송 거지 요다 봐. 자다 로 강사 송버지 유진이 해서.
So the modes of asserting object possessors. So in general, when we talk about object possessors is divided into three: sound, awareness, and person. And 강사 있나 본다.
다 강사 제비서 다다 로 강사 선생 다 강사서 다 이제 강사서 다 맞아 유통 최동 동어로 최동어로 이제 유대 진리게 근데 뭐 같은 반 미시 라시시는 유대 진리게
유당 제대게
유대 진
유당 제바
다 유대 제바스 뭐다 유진게 간다들이 간다 유유게 그런 제부 그런 게 통자 유유です통자 유유です로베 다 유유です
And this sound refers to expressive sound, and it does. The 去查的是有嘛的话，查是的。Yeah, so this sound is the expressive sound, and it doesn't refer to the sound of water or the sound of cave, for example. So because there is an object of expression, for example, a sound that expresses pot as impermanent. So the object of expression is pot is impermanent. So for awareness, then awareness, they are valid cognizers and they are non-valid cognizers. And then for persons, basically it refers to as a 유당戒吧. 강사 said the 유당戒吧.
강사 프로 제가 강사 프로 때 유연 공부를 많이
Yeah, so person basically is person that sees objects or that knows objects. So that is a person.
어디 다 간다 데려다 다 이제 just 가도만 되잖아 좋아 난 너제 봐라 분비 지 강사게 지긴데 봐 이제 나시 강사게 지긴데 봐니 니는 다 분비 지 강사게 지긴데 봐라 딱 너가 되지 되나 이래도 분비 지 강사게 지긴데 봐네 다 이제 나시 강사게 지긴데 봐다 세마 디디 되나 보고 됐다 다 빠디 추락 세마 디디 이제 나 보고 됐다 yes
So, some Sautrantikas assert the continuum of the aggregates as the illustrations of the person, and some assert the mental consciousness as the illustrations of the person. So the first group of Sautrantikas that assert continuum of the aggregates as the illustrations of the person are Sautrantikas following the Abhidhamma Kosha. And those who assert the mental consciousness as the illustrations of the person are Sautrantikas who follow the Dhammakiti's 7 treatises on valid cognition.
다들 완전 데이터 다 사실이 벌로이친 로라 체마도 진디로니 사도 멀리지 바 재미진 다도 담보데 말이다 다 사실이 벌로이친이 좋아 다 로라 체마도 진디로니 시시하고
So the definitions of the here is translated as mind. So if we follow the text that we learned before in Doric, then the word should be the word is awareness. So the definitions of awareness is that which is clear and knowing. So again, a different translation. So if the translation in Laureate text is that which is clear and knowing. So is the definitions of an awareness. And there are two types of awareness, valid cognizers and non-valid cognizers.
Oh, that is such a balance. Lola Chema the Chimiloni. That and the Shivdi. That Lola Chema the Chimiloni, that Chema the Shivdi, that's not the Malaysia, but the Chinese level. That was the Chema, Yondape. That meant Chema said, that did some down with that. Sudden Malaysia, but the Chini. For Tambudiris, that Chini said the start of the Maloa, the repair never divided. That's other ship by Chichi Chema, but Maloa ship by Egyptian. Almost give a Chema in the Jiba in the shells at the bottom.
And the definitions of a valid cognizer is a new incontrovertible knower. So again, different translations. So a new incontrovertible cognizer or knower. And it is necessary to mention all three: new, incontrovertible, and knower or cognizer as the parts of the definitions of a valid cognizer, because saying new eliminates a subsequent cognizer as a valid cognizer. Saying incontrovertible eliminates correct assumption. So again, different translation. In Laureate text is correct assuming consciousness. So correct assuming consciousness or correct assumption as a valid cognizer. And saying knower or cognizer eliminates a physical sense power as a valid cognizer.
That is suddenly done at the suddenly, but it's in Loroa. That is Chedamo that is in the way on the day. Chedamadan, Dagmaya, Tanju, Sudan Dagma. That was a no debata, Ranjiba, so bad in the Chiba, the sudden Malaysia, but Simi is that and the sudden Malaysia, but it's Simi. That sudden Maloa, but they saw that they saw the arena that changes to the Maloga, you said it. Things to the study about Kanda. Jishi Tema, but Jigri is in Tema, but G is about that Jishi Tema, Mari, Tema, but Kaba is that little audio, I think, for the trade in war. Jishi study about Jishi Tema, but Jiba is it. Jishi Sewadi, Southern Malova, the Jishi, yeah, during war, Jishi Pro, and started to use Sato Jishi did you also to be also to be Jishi. That and then they started shape and logically. The Jihi did in Seman Rosamua. Semas was Yesat of Japanese. Sema the Yesat of Oguasunza. The Jihi did a Yesat of Ogumu. The Jihi, Sema Yabata Kata, that Sema James used and that is Shimota. But Jihi said, you no much to sing it, Sema Namadi, you know how much you told it, Jesse Yanja to Niji, she would want those to the Jihi. Or that Jihi did Sema Manibata Habu. Jishi did Sema Maridas, calculated. You started about Maris. But that seems to the study sheet label considerations.
So the definitions of a valid cognizer asserted by Sautrantika is different from that of asserted by Bashika and consequentialists or Prasangika Madhyamaka. So for Sautrantika, the definitions of a valid cognizer is a new incontrovertible cognizer, and it is necessary to mention these three parts: the new, incontrovertible, and knower. So as a part or borders in the definitions of a valid cognizer, because saying new, so this is the word in the definitions of a valid cognizer. So new eliminates a subsequent cognizer as a valid cognizer. So what it means is, by saying new, it stops a subsequent cognizer, or it negates a subsequent cognizer from being a valid cognizer. Because subsequent cognizer do not realize its object newly. It doesn't realize its object newly or cognize its object newly. It is has realized what has already been realized by previous awareness. So by saying new, then it stops a subsequent cognizer from being a valid cognizer. So because of subsequent cognizer, they cannot fit into this into the definitions of a valid cognizer. So by saying new, it eliminates. So it stops subsequent cognizer from being fit into the definitions of a valid cognizer. So basically, it means that by saying new, it stops subsequent cognizer from being a valid cognizer.
So then on the cardinal was a Jishi and Sema Remoda, Sema Maris, that's the Hakova. Jishi and Sema Maris, Garjan Sema Martina, Sema Siniji, switching Sogo Maris Kanda. Sema se what the use of Tobachi shop, yes, use of Tobachi. Jishi the use of Toba Maris, but Sema is the use of Toba Maris, that and the Hakova.
Yeah, so we have to understand that subsequent cognizer is not a valid cognizer. The reason is because it doesn't fit, it doesn't have the parts, it doesn't fit into the part of the definitions of a valid cognizer. So valid cognizer says that if something is a valid cognizer, the definition is a new incontrovertible knower. Then by saying new, then it eliminates a subsequent cognizer eliminates a subsequent cognizer to be a valid cognizer.
That is what Maloa Hippidoa or Maloa so a digital and other and not to Kaduna Maloa Hippa Mijitsima in the Cheese Landua. I eat you would say, Maloa Hippati, Tersonda, Moshi, this is the one Sema Jeda. Maloa Hippati, Tersonda, Yijida, Terson, Moshi, Yoroa. I was hit to Mambo Leura or Banoshi Mambo Yoroa. Or that Kanda, Maloa did Yiji Sema Maresima. Jetsun Sema Maresima, Loshi to Sema Marilla was. Oh, that almost to Chian and Chokyi. So,
by saying new in the as a part of the definitions of a valid cognizer, it eliminates the subsequent cognizer as a valid cognizer because subsequent cognizer doesn't realize its object newly. So therefore, by saying new, it eliminates the subsequent cognizer as a valid cognizer. Saying incontrovertible eliminates correct assumption or correctly assuming consciousness as a valid cognizer. So not only that it eliminates correct assumptions, it also eliminates doubting consciousness, which you can see in later, doubt or doubting consciousness, and also a wrong consciousness as a valid cognizer. So it eliminates not only correct assumption, it also eliminates doubting consciousness and wrong consciousness as a valid cognizer.
That on the Iji Maloa Maris, Maloa Mines the Chema Maris, the Iji the Maloa, the Iji the Lushi than the Loarba. Iji the Rangula Loarba. Rangula Lushi than this Jitsi Loa.
Thank you,
Rangula Loarba. Or Rangula Lushi than this Maloa Chabum. Rangula Maloa Chabum. Rangula Lushi than this Moroa. Jitsi. Or that Iji the Loa Sons that Maloa Maris, Chema so the Maloa Chabu. Angela Mulachi, yes. You just what they're hungry, you're seeming a genie of myself. Oh,
seeming a genie.
That hungry lower is that could be this. Hungry lower, yes. That hungry lower Sunga, that Maloa may be Chinese, then some yes.
So saying incontrovertible eliminates correct assumption as a valid cognizer. So correct assumption is not incontrovertible. Correct assumption is controvertible. So it is controvertible with it is controvertible with its object. Therefore, saying incontrovertible eliminates correct assumptions as a valid cognizer. So being a valid cognizer must be incontrovertible. So since correct assumption is controvertible with its object, therefore correct assumption is not a valid cognizer.
That you that you bought a Tesla Loshi is some of the Tarang Yellow Maloa Chaya Mari Tesla Loshi or Yella Watch Hadira, Watch Hadiri, and Tesla Loshi is over that the lower Watch Hadira. Yes, that's him on the Reslam. That you did a Tesla Loshi, someone yes, the Garik Sangomasna, Maloa and some yes, Sema in a Maloa.
So not only the correct assumptions is not a valid cognizer because of being controvertible with its object. Similarly, for doubting consciousness and wrong consciousness, they are not a valid cognizer as well because they are controvertible with its object.
다데 제가 뭐이나 almost 제가 세마 이세 거다.
제가 뭐
제가 뭐이나 가서 본도 시에다가 almost 제가 좀 almost 제가 미고 almost 안다다 미고 almost 수치 베스면 통그레 세마리 있으려고 해봐 말이 세마리 있으려고 제가 뭐 안고도 사람서 와 세마리 히비 맞아 되간다. 다 미고 almost 샤워도 almost 간다. 미원 다 미원 다버데 간다. 세마리에 Kepa Maris, Chidama. That no debate, so that they are that and that you go Sema Maris, you almost Swish in Jelaka, Sema Maris. Sema in the Shepa, you will reply you race about that on the debate. You almost give up, so the good Surya Mother for Shepa Maris, Ripa from Maris. Ripa Shepa Maris and Sema, you are race about the debate. That Jedamo Sema is like
Ribam mean chinjalan it is Sema
Maris, Sema, Shepa Maris, Ripa Maris, almost Japan, to Suru, Suda Shepan Gawaris, and the Dodeba Suda Shepan Gawaris, and both Shepa diminishes in Wakonasura, and both Shepa diminishes some of the Gawaris.
In Pomba, Sheba, Demintuji.
Oh, Gawari. Suda, and both.
So, Bembo, Sheba, Demintuji,
or the ship diminishes, and both Shepa diminishes, and both Shepa diminishes on Gawaris.
Pombo, Sheba, Bembo, Sheba, Demintuji. Su de mano, su yo, sum de kawari.
That's who is in the kind of shape I
And saying cognizer eliminates a physical sense power as a valid cognizer. So for Sautrantika, as long as it is a physical sense power, it is not a consciousness, thus it is not a valid cognizer. So however, this is different from Vaibhashika. For Vaibhashika, they asserts physical sense power as a valid cognizer as well. Even though it is not a consciousness, however, it is a valid cognizer. This is for Vaibhashika. So however, for Sautrantika, so by saying cognizer eliminates a physical sense power as a valid cognizer. So physical sense power is not a valid cognizer. It's not a valid cognizer because it is not a consciousness. So, matter. So we say matter, consciousness, and non-associating compositional factors. So these three are contradictory. So, what is one is not the other. So, and for Vaibhashika, for Sautrantika, they say that physical sense power is not a valid cognizer because it is a form. So since it's not a consciousness, it's not an awareness as well. So since it's not an awareness or a consciousness, therefore, it is not a valid cognizer.
No debate on that Semala Shepa in the Chabres Lava. No debate Semala Shepa in Urias. That Jedama and Semala Shepa in Marias Lava. That in Sheba.
Yeah. So for Sautrantika, a valid cognizer is necessarily a consciousness. So for Vaibhashika, a valid cognizer is not necessarily a consciousness.
That's Sema Sevala Karan Sang Sadu Malua, Sadu Malua, the Ripasun Sang, Sema Sevada, Sadu Malua, Ripasun, that's Sadu Malua, Ripasun, Chuchi Tesun Sang, and Sema, Sema the Tesun Sang, Danadi, and Sema with another Karazri, some down, that's Sadu Mali Ripa. The Chuchi Sun Sang, Sadu Malua, Ripa, the Tesun Sang, but that's just saying a Bachirua.
So we must make sure that we understand the definitions of a valid cognizer. Whenever people ask you, so what is a valid cognizer? So a valid cognizer must possess three features. The three features are new, incontrovertible, knower, or cognizer. So as it mentions in the definitions of a valid cognizer, as three parts of the definition. So new, incontrovertible, cognizer or knower. So anything is a valid cognizer, it must possess these three features.
탄조하게 제막이 재미기 진이더라. 멀어지바 재미 진짜죠. 멀어지바. 멀어지바 제마 랑그 열다 멀어와 순다. 랑그 열때 멀어와 열때 제마지기 또스나 다 제마리스는 거. 탄조하게. 랑그 열라 멀어와. 멀어지바 재미 진이스라고요. 다 깜들랑 아주 너디바 또 시와 순다. 아빠가 지시대 제마 말이스라고. 탄조한데 봐 이나다 지시 제마리스라고. 그래서 우리 봐 제마리스라고.
미루의 리버스
밀루의 생이 샤죠. 단주하기.
이제 장기 유대 지마치시디
또 랑이 지마치기 또 선에 랑이 유대로 몰라. 지마치기 또 선에 다 제마 샤데 됐어. 그 단주하기 쌉도 같이 잡아. 근데
Yeah. So for Sautrantika, the definitions of a valid cognizer is a new incontrovertible cognizer or knower. So however, this is different from Prasangika Madhyamaka. So for Prasangika Madhyamaka, they define a valid cognizer as an incontrovertible knower. They do not have the feature of new. They straight away say, an incontrovertible knower. So because for Prasangika Madhyamaka, they say that they define a valid cognizer as a knower that is incontrovertible, or an incontrovertible knower. So this is the definition of a valid cognizer for Prasangika Madhyamaka. So if it realize its object as it is a valid cognizer. So this is the definitions of a valid cognizer for Vaibhashika. If it realize its object as it is a valid cognizer.
어디지로 당어도 제마디 당 제마는 당 무슨 제마 당 제마 디시 참지로 당 제마데 지지선 지 참지 당 제마는 무슨 제마 제스바데 제마니 또바도 저기 뭔지 바데 무슨 제미 또바도 저기 스타도 뭐지 바데 무슨 제미 전도와
So valid cognizer can be divided into two. So again, the translations is different. So here it says valid direct perceivers and valid inferential cognizers. So the terms that we learn in Loric is direct valid cognizer and inferential valid cognizer. And the definitions of a direct perceiver is a cognizer that is non-mistaken and free from conceptuality. And the definitions of a valid direct perceiver is a new incontrovertible knower that is free from conceptuality.
또바다 다시 와 무슨 시스템 제스 방송 또바다 다시 만취 리바데 무슨 지치니세 또바다 다시 사도 리바다 무슨 지치니세 다 된다도 또바다 다시 만취 리바스 다 무슨 데다 또바다 자와 세와데 다 다딘 데룬지비 다딘 데룬지비 쉐리다 가와스 또바다 자스나 자 또바세와다 자 텐디간 데룬지비 보러와 또바세와다 다딘 데룬지비 보러와 다 또바다 자스나 다딘 데룬지비 쉐리다 자스 다딘 데룬지비 쉐리다 자세 너말은 다딘 데룬지비 쉐리 많이 봐로
다딘 데룬도 짐바
다딘 데룬 짐바다 가와 쉐리다 다딘 데룬지비 쉐리다 가와 다 파카투노바나 다딘 데룬지비 쉐리 많이 봤어 그래서 다딘 데룬지비 쉐리 많이 차디 다딘 데룬지비 또바다 자사와 계속 자사와 원예수들아 예수들아 topa da cha so de jadin de rin zi heri mai ba ka du la jin de topa so de jada tan de rin zi de ba jadin de rin zi de ba o jadin de rin zi topa da cha so de jadin de rin zi heri da jawase o tambo de chi.
The definitions of a direct perceiver is a cognizer that is non-mistaken and free from conceptuality. So free from conceptuality also means that it is free from the apprehensions, free from the apprehensions of sound generality and meaning generality as suitable to be mixed. So free from conceptuality also means that it is free from the apprehensions that sound generality and meaning generality as suitable to be mixed. So in other way of saying this is, it is free from the determinative knower that apprehends sound generality and meaning generality as suitable to be mixed. So that is what it means by free from conceptuality. So because if it is a conceptual thoughts or conceptions, then it apprehends sound generality and meaning generality as suitable to be mixed. So free from conceptuality means that it is free from such apprehension. Yeah, as long as it is a direct perceiver, it is non-mistaken. So non-mistaken also means that it is non-mistaken with regard to its appearing object. So the definitions of a valid direct perceiver, in other way of saying this is a direct valid cognizer. So it is a new incontrovertible cognizer or knower that is free from conceptuality. So direct valid cognizer, right? So just now we just learned about the definitions of a valid cognizer is a new incontrovertible knower or cognizer. So this one is a direct valid cognizer. So it also has the features of a valid cognizer, a new incontrovertible cognizer or knower. So there are 4 types of direct valid cognizer. In other ways of saying this is valid direct perceivers. So the 4 types are self-cognizing or self-knowing direct valid cognizer, sense direct valid cognizer, mental direct valid cognizer, and yogic direct valid cognizer. So, for Sautrantika, there are 4 types of direct valid cognizer. So for Vaibhashika, there are only 3 because they do not assert self-knowing direct valid cognizer.
나 어디서看나 되지 해 봐서看나 코나식 진바 연가 왔지 또 봐도 자기 사도 문제 봐 나 어디에서 재미지 나 어디에서 이제 재미들 또 봐 많이 보네 왜 소리고 와 사도 몰라 사도 모르지 봐 재마로 와 재마 이거 전에 사도 모르지 봐 잡고 와
그래서 또 받아 다시 있는데
또
또
받아
말이
자와 공부수 이제 또 받아 와 왜 소리나 가서 또 받아 자와 와 딱 하나 코너식인 진바 연가 왔다 또 저리 그런 이리로 와 어디서 하나 코너식 있는데 다 이게 주로 지수라서 주로서 그래서 지금 말이 두 말이 쓰고 와
The definitions of a self-cognizing or self-knowing direct valid cognizer is a new incontrovertible knower that is free from conceptuality, bears the aspect of an apprehender and only looks inward. So the wording in Laureate text is a new incontrovertible knower, free from conceptuality, that is directly only inward and is just an apprehender. So so self-cognizing then in the definitions of in its definition then it says bears the aspect of an apprehender and only looks inward. So only looks inward. For self-cognizing, for self-cognizer or self-knower, they only looks inward and they do not look outwards. For example, they do not see the external objects. They only look inwards. And then since it is a direct valid cognizer, then it has the definition, has the wordings of a new incontrovertible cognizer that is free from conceptuality.
다니마 되려와 랑 팀모 마이베 다치지 오버스 개발된 중 뽑아다 자기 사도 뭐지 바데 다 디르치네 온빙에서 치네 치네스라 다 온빙에서 랑 팀모 마이베 다치스나 오버스 개발된 중 내가 랑 팀모 다치 오버스 개발된 중 그 무슨 이신이라 뽑아다 그래서 와 그 제마 이용해서 뜻사도 되게 그래서 다 치는 와 온빙에서 치네스 원봉에서 지금 다랑기 팀 원봉에서 원빙에서 다지는 원봉수 개발된 거랑 팀원 다지 원봉수 개발된 중앙에서 이용이나 이 원봉대구라 이중에서나 다들랑기 팀원 다지 원봉수 개발된 원빙에서 원봉수 개발된 중앙에서 원봉에서 뽑아다 그래서 세마에서 사도 그래서 보다 다리는
왕nguyên thì cái rangi tu mo mai be 다지 원봉수 The definitions of a sense direct valid cognizer is a new incontrovertible cognizer that is free from conceptuality and that arises in dependence upon the physical sense power at this uncommon empowering condition. Yeah, this is quite similar to the wordings in the Laureate text. A new incontrovertible knower, free from conceptuality, that arises in dependence upon a physical sense power that is its uncommon empowering conditions. So, a new incontrovertible knower, then because it is a valid cognizer, therefore it has the features of being a new incontrovertible knower. And since it is a direct perceiver, it has the feature of free from conceptuality. So sense direct perceiver, the special point here, the special feature in this definition is it arises in dependence upon a physical sense power at its uncommon empowering conditions. Because it is a sense direct perceiver, therefore it arises in dependence on its uncommon empowering conditions, that is physical sense power. So for mental direct perceiver, which we will see here, for mental direct perceiver, then they arises such a direct perceiver arises in dependence upon its uncommon empowering conditions, that is mental sense power.
다데 장기 팀원을 다쳤다 이완을 보다 다 이완을 되니시 또 받을 수 있다는 일이 바데 다 간다 이중에서 심지니 이중에서 심지니를 선바 이중에서 심 장기 팀원만이 다지 이완을 되니시 무슨도 다 이중에서 다 이완을 된 말이야 장기 팀원 다지 가를 때와서 이중 한번 된 말이야 이완 되니시 당연히
이중에서 인진자라고
이중에서 이신자라 장기 팀원을 다지 가서 이완을 이완마다 다 온부 수차야 말 다지 미원 소리 이와요 말와 공부 이완할 때 좋아하는 거지 와 다치 공부 수제 받으면 이와요 말와 이완을 내 사실은 다치 공부 수제 받으면 이와요 말 와 다른 게 팀원 많이 다치 이완을 때문에 쇼이 쇼와선자 이징에선자 이완을 때문에 좋아 다 무슨 인자 또 봐서 좋아 다 제만 이제 사도 문제지 봐 또 봐서 책사도 문제지 봐 이징에서 재밌는 거야
So the definitions of a mental direct perceiver or mental as a direct valid cognizer is a new and incontrovertible knower. A new and incontrovertible cognizer that is free from conceptuality and that arises in dependence upon the mental sense power as its uncommon empowering conditions. So this is quite similar to the wordings in Laureate text as well. A new incontrovertible knower, free from conceptuality, and that arises in dependence upon the mental sense power that is its uncommon empowering conditions. So here is the mental direct valid cognizer. So mental direct valid cognizer, then the special features is it arises in dependence upon a mental sense power that is its uncommon empowering conditions. It doesn't arise in dependence on a physical sense power. It only arises in dependence on its uncommon empowering conditions that is mental sense power. So the definitions of a yogic direct valid cognizer is a wisdom consciousness that clearly realizes subtle impermanence or coarse or subtle selflessness of persons, having depended upon a concentration that is the union of tranquil abiding and special insight as its uncommon empowering conditions. So the wordings in Laureate text is an exalted knower in dependence upon the meditative stabilization. There is a union of calm abiding and special insight, and is its empowering conditions. Realizes either subtle impermanence or a coarse or subtle selflessness of persons. You have the Laureate text as well, so you can refer to your Laureate text. So here I also will read the definitions as we learn in Laureate text. Probably we are more familiar with this. So the special features, being a yogic direct valid cognizer, then the special features is it depends on the meditative stabilization or concentration. There is a union of calm abiding and special insight at its uncommon empowering condition. Rang to be do Kijiniba la, and Mitemba, and not the Jibing or to Baten la. Mitemba said any usually Miteba. They our
두 기지 니발 기지 담보 두 차이 신제라 기지 니발다 뭐 랑선 좋아해 좋아요. 뭐 랑선 좋아해. 뭐 내가 써는 못 되지.
So there are three types of yogic direct valley cognizer. A valley cognizer that clearly realizes subtle impermanence, a valley cognizer that clearly realizes coarse selflessness of persons, and a valley cognizer that clearly realizes subtle selflessness of persons. So when we talk about impermanence, it can be divided into the coarse and subtle. So coarse impermanence, for example, the breaking of a cup, or the landsliding. So those are the coarse impermanence. So for subtle impermanence is it doesn't abide in it doesn't abide. Subtle impermanence is it doesn't abide in the next moment after its establishment. It doesn't abide in next moment after its establishment, means that it doesn't abide in the moment and then it keep going. So it go through immediate changes. It doesn't abide in that moment. It go through immediate changes. So So the example is like a puppy or a little bird. So once it is born, one is born, then it go it go through changes. So even though when we see a little bird once it's born, or a puppy, then it doesn't go through much changes, right? It doesn't go through changes. However, in fact, once it is born, it has already gone through changes. So the little birds or puppies, one is born, it is already going through changes. So then a valley cognizer that clearly realizes coarse selflessness of persons is the coarse selflessness of person is the emptiness of a person, emptiness of a person being permanent, partless, and independent. So that is the coarse selflessness of persons. And subtle selflessness of person is the emptiness of a person being self-sufficient, substantially existent person. So this is the subtle selflessness of person. So the emptiness of a person being self-sufficient, substantially existent person. So these assertions of coarse selflessness of person and subtle selflessness of persons are similar from the autonomous school, Svadantika, Madhyamaka, and below. So Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, they assert the coarse and subtle selflessness of person in this way. So which is different from the assertions of coarse and subtle selflessness of person for Prasangika Prasangika Madhyamaka. So Prasangika Madhyamaka, they assert these two selflessnesses in a different way.
Oh, this is what the Kanzaka Dame Tara, worship by teachers, and that the Kanzaka Dame Tara, that the Yonda, the chance of the Kasi to Mobisha, that Tiba Majibachi, Kanzaka Dame Rabasana, Kanzaki Ramachi to be Toma the Shah, the Kanzaka Dame Thomasna, Kanzaka to be Ziji to be Toma the Shah, or Dinika, or Chiva Dinika.
So since this is commonly asserted by a few schools regarding this coarse and subtle selflessness of person, so then we keep in our mind. So for these schools, they assert coarse selflessness of person as the emptiness of a person being permanent, heartless, and independent person. The emptiness of a person being permanent, heartless, and independent, and subtle selflessness of person. They assert it as they assert it as the emptiness of a person being self-sufficient, substantially existent.
That Rangi Tenda Yanda, the Jibisa to Malay, he the gist for the Sinis. That Jepa Tela Yanata, and the Neto Jepa Trapi by Jepa, some Shidwa.
Then we come to inferential valid cognizer. So the definitions of a valid inferential cognizer is a new and incontrovertible conceptual cognizer that arises in dependence upon a correct sign, its basis. In the Lorik text that we learned, it is translated as a new incontrovertible determinative knower that is produced in dependence on a correct sign, that is its basis.
Tanga the Tenda and the Tanga Pichatani, Mayos and the Patu Kotiba Kodibo, the Pichatani that is the Mobistal, it's a Mobishan. But the conduct Peshavanazo, Jinsi under Gilatinita, and Semaji, Jepa Semas or Jinsi under the Daddy Mitabarida Asra, Daddy Mitaba Jinsi Karsman, Chevari, Ezra. That Chepa Jinsi, Daddy Mata. Jamata pada to orang buja dekat jamata pada to ada. Maksud jamata pada hamau, tadi dari mata pada res, tadi jenis karusnya dari cepa res. Di cepa ini mata pada ibu res. Tadi cepa ini mata pada ibu sudah. Tadi cepa ibu jenis telah ini, tadi dari mata pada to bi cepa semalam ada. Jamata pada to bi cepa semalam. Dua jamata pada to bi cepa semalam. Jadi, Thomas satu mulai kiri jenis ibu dua cepa semalam.
So inferential valid cognizer, it arises in dependence upon a correct sign. So correct sign also means correct reasoning, correct reason or correct sign or correct reasoning. So for example, in order to generate inferential valid cognizer that realizes sound as impermanent, then it has to depend on a correct sign or correct reason. For example, being a product. So the thing that the point that is trying to prove is sound is impermanent. Then it's proved with a reason or sign, which is being a product. So if it is a product, then it has to be impermanent. So this is the example for inferential valid cognizer. So that a new incontrovertible determinative knower that arises in dependence upon a correct sign.
That seems to have an action as the learn of potential to go my deroa. I want to do the legend song on the world. That conduct the water didn't be last night. Master Rigala, what did be large Rigora, what didn't be last Tomotila Kanda. Toy engage. That toy engage, you get Tomotil to one to us. The toy was the Dilla Mayo, the Estakanda. Mayo, you get Tomoticana, Mayo is. Mayo be Jessica, the Toa Tango to us. It was Hungora Takana, Roa, one Tunga. That one was. That Toa de Latine, Mazutakanda, 도와 더 메긴 레비 차도 보라 지난 가서와 도와 메긴 레브로와 레비스다 다 이 리들라 리드 칸라 메요사 메도와스 그 전세가도 도와 땅도 와스 다 도와테 요발라티네 그 메요 보레 메요 요가스나 다 리들라 칸다 다 리들 다 메요 바 또 비제박세 마시고 칸다 리드 칸로와 리드 칸라 메요 바또 비제박세 마 지고레 간데 지고스나 리드 칸라 메요 바또 비제박세 마 간데 지고스나 리들라 도와 도와스 도와 요시지라 코 메요 메거스 도와데 메긴 제부 차도 보라 오 진짜 들리는 상황은 딱 간다 리간라 메요 바또 메요 바또 비제박세 마시 아디 들리시 빼다 진짜 들리시 상황 지고
Yeah. So another example is the mountain pass with smoke. The mountain pass, there is smoke in the mountain pass.
같은 것에 사바가 이렇게 레전드 그래. 사바가 리카나 메요와 사바가 빛나 이래 사바가 나도 말레이시아 리치 빼 미로와. 사바가 리디. 사바가 리디 카나 메도와 진짜 가서 또 도와 당도 와서. 어디랑 되고.
So you can straight away say the Mount Kinabalu. So Mount Kinabalu has fire. There is fire at Mount Kinabalu. And the reason is because there is smoke. So there is fire at Mount Kinabalu because there is fire. So to generate inferential valid cognizer that realizes there is fire in the mountain, then it arises in dependence on a correct sign, which is there is smoke. So in general, smoke is the result of fire, right? So in general, we assert that smoke is the result of fire. So there is a fire in the mountain. In order to generate an inferential valid cognizer that realizes there is fire in the mountain, it arises. It depends on a it depends on the correct sign or correct reason, which is there is smoke, because smoke in general is the result of fire.
That thing was many long Australia real memo shows. That Rikanakanda, Toa Kuan, memo about the new Dahatu. Real pay, Toa, Sinat, Toa, she will live with. But that Toa did that in the show with Najikan on the below. What that Toa make out to know is Miki Tungu Madina. That Junsit like in the mayor of a shingle. Toa you be Junsit like in the mayor of Ritila, mayor of a shingle. Oh, that Junsit like in a so that another Rangi. To snippet Rangi Tenda and things that pass over the Junsit.
So then it's also like a bushfire in Australia. So even though you do not see the fire, but when you see the smoke, you know that there is fire in the mountain. So yeah, so there is smoke is the correct reason upon which to generate a new upon which to generate inferential valid cognizer that realizes there is fire in the mountain. So basically, is when you see the smoke, you know that there is fire there. So that is what it means by it is an example of inferential valid cognizer.
Dawa ki jiruyade ta tobi yuna yores toyina yores jinsi de kiwa ta toyina yobi jinsi de la tine ta rongo chi khanda dawa ki jiru chaba to dawa ki jiru yore de to ba che ba sin ta trapi je ba de tine khanda wa ta rongo chi ngazo noji yura be jitina ngazo dawa se mo yor ba rongo chi de mi re se ta khanda dawa mi no shi mi was meeting Runches in the Lodo. Not Runchel and Jidina Dawas Tower, yes, levels. Or done Jidina Runchilla, Dawashi Jirundu Yodi, that to be in the rest of the rest of the Juziliter, or in the rest of the city. What?
You mean, not the Nurgimi.
You miss Tommy, the name is a case. Tommy, the name is That got to lose the lodge nigga up on the wooden dinner at the Archie Tower, yes. That the regions are in it, the Wunja Dog didn't Japan Sema.
Katu the Nivala, the Shigi invasion. And that Katu Nivala, the Shigi. So there are three divisions of inferential valid cognizers. Inferential cognizers by the power of the fact, inferential cognizers through renown, and inferential cognizers through belief. And illustrations of the first is an inferential cognizer that realizes sound to be impermanent by the sign or by the reason product. And illustrations of the second is an inferential cognizer that realizes that rabbit bearer is suitable to be called by the term moon by the sign existing among objects of conceptions. So rabbit bearer is the actual name, and then it is suitable to be called by the term moon. Then through the sign or by the sign of being existent among objects of conceptions or objects of thoughts. So this is the reason or is a sign. Then it is inferential cognizer that realizes that rabbit bearer, which is the actual name, is suitable to be called by the term moon. Then through the sign of being existent among objects of conceptions or thoughts. So this is the reason.
Jetsun Tabi has been taken by Jetsun to Papa. Jimba don't know change. This one, they don't change. That did Jimbilong to Takanda and Woodison, and that Jimbilong to the cheese with Wood, but on the Teji Tantala Maloa. Yes, Maloa, you belong to Teji Tanta Maloi, which is a cousin, but Jebasun the Tabi. Yes. That Jebasun the Ta, said that somebody like Jebasun the Tajan. Jetsun Tabi, yes, you say Telatin. Jetsun the Tabi, no, but Telatine, around the Teji Tela Maloa, to be Jebansema and Jebansema.
And the third one is inferential cognizers through belief. The example is inferential cognizer that realizes the scripture from giving arises wealth, from ethics arises happiness, is incontrovertible with respect to the meaning indicated by it, by the sign that it is a scripture, certified by a threefold investigation. So the words in Laurie text is the signs of being a scripture free from three contradictions. A scriptures being free from three contradictions. So inferential cognizer that realizes the scriptures is incontrovertible with respect to the meaning indicated by it. Then in order to realize this, the scriptures is incontrovertible with respect to the meaning indicated by it or in it, then it's through the sign or through the reason that it is a scripture, certified by a threefold investigations, or through the signs of being a scripture, free from the three contradictions.
이체 제바고 내봐요. 메스 제수 제바스도 다른 무세. 예, 세마 제바 예 순간에 딱 한다. 내봐면 그때 너무 때만나시 대나 대어는 거 예세보다. 제수 답을 무세. 어떤 제수 답을 때랑 그 때지 때나 뭐로 왔다 또 제바세. 이 지지마 대 된다 드시고 제수 답았어. 제바스도 답아.
Yeah, so for example, scriptures that expresses four noble truths or that teaches four noble truths, the meaning indicated in the scriptures is incontrovertible. Yeah, it is incontrovertible because it is a scripture that is certified by a threefold investigations of free from the three contradictions or purified by the three analysis. So the threefold investigations the threefold, as the scriptures is free from three contradictions, means that it is not contradicted by the direct valid cognizer, and is not harmed by the inferential cognizer by the power of the fact, and is also not harmed by inferential cognizer through belief.
가다 보시는 가서 야자 간다 무슨라로와 야자 문주들라 무슨 내봐 봐서
샤자라
샤자 문주라 무슨 내봐 중세 고지라 제바게 내봐 고지라 제바게 내봐 다 신도 고지라 다 이시 제바게 내봐 무슨 그래 와 신도 고지라
양게 샤자
문주라 무슨 내봐
문숨기
무슨 내봐 중세 고지라 제바게 내봐 와 다 간다 디 신도 고지라 다 이시
제바
제바 내봐 무슨 디고와
공교에나 댕고도 기제바라
오면도 제바
Yeah, so to further explain that is free from the three contradictions or certified by a threefold investigations. So we mentioned about is not harmed by direct valid cognizer, is not harmed by inferential cognizer by the power of the fact, and is not harmed by inferential cognizer through belief, right? So to further elaborate that is the object of the evident or obvious object of comprehension is not harmed by direct perceiver. The Shinto Kokyo city in the evidence and Shinto Kokyo city evidence and not manifest and can you know hidden phenomena, sorry. So the hidden phenomena is not harmed by inferential cognizer by the power of the fact, and very hidden phenomena is not harmed by inferential cognizer through belief.
Oh, 다들 간에 걸리는 저도 비즈 하고요라. 비즈 하고요. 다들 간에 앉아야 되는 것도 그래요. 다 손이 생기더라 가서 생기더라. 잡이 제발 내도 제발 쳐버리스. 손이 생기 잡이 제발 내도 제발 쳐버리. 당연히 세만 있는 거죠. 제발 세만 있는 거죠. 다 손이 오면 그래서 기준이 받아. 드라마다 제발 기준이 받는 지시를 해서 그러와. 지시레스 당연히다 제대로 내면서 제스 받기 기지 당분은 세마를 내가 주도 두바 그게 타면 되미시나 나 10만 원에 세마이 한번 계신 거예스 어디와 그때는 같은 좀 비슷하죠 다 간다 된다 되래 다 생기다 잡이 제바 이것도 제바기 잡으래스 제바에 되는 거 제바이 잡으래스 당연히나 무슨 세마이 잡으래스 와 무슨 세마이 잡으라 하대 무슨 세마서 사람들이 봐 무슨 들은 것을 사람들이 봐 이거 무슨 기준이 맞지 찾아도 봐 제발 세마이 잡도 다 성지 오면 기준이 받 들어와 성지 오면 기준이 받아 성지 오면 기준이 받다는 무슨 세마 말해서 다 맞아도 제가 기지 매번 지시를 했어. 봐. 지시를 제발이네 제가 좀 말해라고 봐. 어디서 뭐 기체들이
An inference through now is necessarily an inference by the power of the fact. Direct perceivers are not necessarily valid direct perceivers. In other words, it's direct valid cognizers. So direct perceivers are not necessarily direct valid cognizers because being a direct valid cognizers, it must be new and incontrovertible, right? So for direct perceivers, it's not necessarily so. So therefore, direct perceivers are not necessarily a direct valid cognizer, and inferential cognizers are not necessarily inferential valid cognizers or valid inferential cognizers, because the second moment of a sense direct perceiver apprehending form and the second moment of an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent are subsequent cognizers. So second moment of a sense direct perceiver apprehending form, it is a direct perceivers. However, it is not a direct valid cognizers because it is a second moment. Similarly, the second moment of an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent are subsequent cognizers. So these inferential cognizers, second moment of an inferential cognizers realizing sound as impermanent, it is an inferential cognizer, but it is not inferential valid cognizers because it is a subsequent cognizers, the second moment of an inferential cognizers or being a subsequent cognizers. Yeah, so regarding valid cognizers and the divisions of valid cognizers, which are direct valid cognizers and inferential valid cognizers, so these are important. And then take some time to understand this. And then next class we are going to learn about non-valid cognizers. The definitions of a non-valid cognizers is a cognizer that is not new and incontrovertible. Yeah, so yeah, we stop here and then maybe has a question and answer.
Sheila, can I ask a question? I have a question regarding valid cognizers.
Anything?
Can you hear me? My question is regarding
or actually
valid
no one is asking a
cognizer.
question.
Sorry? Can you hear me, Ken? Hello?
Yeah, yes.
Can you hear me or not?
Yes, can hear. Yeah, now can hear.
Yeah, my question is regarding valid cognizers, which has got three attributes, new, incontrovertible, and free from conceptuality. So my question is regarding my understanding of free from conceptuality, because if we refer to the two truths, all conventional truths are conceptual. Therefore, I cannot understand here why it has to be free from conceptuality. Can you explain that? Because to me, everything is conceptual other than that which is the ultimate truth.
Yeah. Niti kasa tanda kasa di tobadan chashing. Tobadan chashing sa di tangi niti kongi tiwa ina di semagi kola kandi shua yusa. Ini di semagi chenyi na di kichu sum yorwa. Ini di satu milua ta. Ini di jipa sa di ini kongi andi tobadan chashing di shiware. Tobadan chashing shiwa ina di kasa andi ngon sum yi sema di chawarwa. Tobadan chashing na. Ini yang tobadan chashing is kanda ini kongi tiwa di tobadan chashing sa di kasa 군조 덴바이나 참마디 군조 덴바이나 디 참마 도바레사 에니디 가리지니 에니디 군숨기 체마세디 군숨기 체마기 체니 케추지 양 도바단 자신세기오레스 군조 덴바이나 디 참마 도바레스
군조 덴바 도바이세라야 망가 단도디불라 군조 덴바 따바가데 군조 덴바서 따바 던지로 무슨 도디바 던던데 가도는 맞아 군조 덴바서 따바리 맞아 니 부치니 거 봤어 인들아
인지지나 안디 가장 땡기와기 줄라 시기요나
뭐 던던데 가도디 나더라 단지와 루스라 신나마 군조 덴바 따바리 시바치니 거 쓱 던다 슬라시나 군조 덴바이나 디 도바마 도바치니 뭐 던다 쓱 루시나 다 던다 가서 같은 도디바 디 가도라 군조 덴바서는 따바리 왔어 아빠 진짜 군조 덴바 던다 치바레스 이게 말레스
ini di kazan di sui lu la yang di kaza kunju temba di toba maris de lamna tigro
근데 군조 덴바서는 똑같이 yes 아마 너 덴바는 군조 덴바 따바리 대신다 던다 수비는 군조 덴바서는 똑같이 yes
yeah, so if I understand your questions correctly, you say that how say all conventional truths are conceptual, then you don't understand why how say the free from conceptuality is in the definitions, right? So then yes. How say following any schools, how say whichever school we follow, then they do not assert that all conventional truths how say all conventional truths as conceptual. Yeah, they do not assert conventional truths as conceptual. And in this particular school, Sautrantika, the conventional truth is permanent. And yeah, they move on. Yeah.
move on. Tapares. And that kato was in
the toba yimingi kisham yomaro. Kunjo temba in the toba
maro. Kunjo temba tapa in the thing was a chinamara.
Toba in a day to Jere.
Then the Jira, Shepara, Topa in a Shepa Igora. Then the Jira. Then Mitabarwa.
Kunju temba in a
Tabari.
Yeah, so in for yeah, so for Sautrantika, they do not assert, or has other school, they also do not assert conventional truths as conceptual. And for Sautrantika, they do not assert conventional truths as conceptual, is because conceptual is a consciousness. And since it is a consciousness, it is a compounded phenomena. And since it is a compounded phenomena, it is impermanent phenomena. So, and however, conventional truth is permanent. Yeah, therefore, yeah, it is not impermanent. It cannot be conceptual. Has a conceptual, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I got a short question to ask Geshe-la to clarify. When you say free from apprehension of sound generality and meaning generality as suitable to be mixed, what do you mean by suitable to be mixed?
So, yeah, and the Geshe-la tangin di kasa toba tan tashin toba di dishi gabika la ni de jedung du de zimba de ro. Sheri.
That is the Sheri the toss man.
And Sheri the tower.
Sheri my bus man.
Did jedung kasa datun jedung ki tunda de carried.
That the turn you got to pay indeed the ruins. The turn you got there on the top the news.
Daji dan twenty zero.
What top the news to them, Jemba to them. In a Bunzi topa that was the Kaligina. Jemba was the Tomatubachi. Change and dating. Change and dating.
Change and dating. Daji dan
dating and dating. Since that did that in Jerusalem. As it is true. But then I was a change turned the nothing.
Change Yana Daji and David Tony, the you Tokyo. You Tokyo.
Change and dating.
Change and David Tony. Yeah, so it's free from as suitable to be mixed. So the meaning generality and sound generality as suitable to be mixed means that it doesn't realize the object directly or nakedly. It is unable to realize its object directly or nakedly, and it is mixed with the meaning generality. It is realized through mixing with the meaning generality. So that is what it means by sound generality and meaning generality as suitable to be mixed.
Oh, yeah, thank you. That's very short. I think you stop here. That was a guilty show. That was more cheap. That was a dedicated on here to chicken by the water. How about it? The language of the children to be busy to massage about it. You know, that on the mountain than you know, so that's and you go at that. That's in the city, it's in the city, 2 years of the bottom, changes from the video. I never knew that the robot you remember the nation of the robot in Sudajin, that corner on that. Indeed, robot Yagi, Mujidi, Kanda, Tilly, Eat or Military, Tilly, did you pieces of the new someone, she pieces of the Dubai, Sanji commanded to her. But then the ditch of Chinese, but listen,
So we conclude these sessions with dedications. We dedicate the roots of virtue that we accumulate, especially through these Dharma discussions. It may be a complete cause for Buddha Dharma to flourish in all 10 directions and for all sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teachings, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to live eons long with excellent health conditions, and may all their holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously, and may their holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously, and enlightened activities be spread in all 10 directions. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to the world peace. May excellent happiness prevail the world. May the world be free from wars, conflicts, pandemics, and disaster. And may those who pass away, may their negativities accumulated since beginningless time be pacified immediately and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment. And for those who are sick and who suffer, and those who help those who are sick and suffer, then may they live long, good health, and may they be free from suffering, and may their life be filled with excellent happiness.
But teachers how about them also? Gates on the Latini. That's on the cutting how about your Jajama Sabar much. To do some more use, learning that young seem to me. Near the penny. They got a maintaining my gene ship and you chase some more share and joke. She had to leave it and chat about that you use.
To know some more, right?
And you're making a choosing all of the kind of tree here. This much.
In particular, we also dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved great kindness teacher, Kyabsha Lama Sopa Rinpoche. So may Rinpoche's profound aspirational prayers be accomplished instantaneously, and may the unmistaken reincarnations of Rinpoche be swiftly returned and continue to turn the wheel of Dharma to sentient beings just like before, so that we can continue to create Dharma connections with Rinpoche.
Doggy Junior,
Zabe Giwadi, Tengan Doa, Kunda, Kambe, Kiba, Jizu, Losan, Jawai, Tembe, Nigo, Rindo, Seje, Jo, Janju, Senjo, Rimbo, Jemaki, Banan, Kibu, Jikiba, Nyamba, Mebaya, Kone, Kondo, Perwa, Jo, Jambe, Bawe, Jita, Kimba, Kondo, Sambo, Dean, Deshin, Deda, Kungi, Jesu, Daloche, Wadida, Tamje, Rabdo, Mo, Tongi, Tawa, Rimbo, Jemaki, Banan, Kibu, Jikiba, Nyamba, Mebaya, Kone, Kondo, Pewa, Jo, Itawa, Rimboje, Maki, Panan, Kyoji, Keba, Nyamba, Mebaya, Kone, Kondo, Pewa, Jo, Jetsun, Dojo, Belang, Kisses, Kanjin, Tendu, Chana, Pemo, Tenzin, Gazola, Soa, De So, Shede, Luro, Jo, Jiten, Kande, Pende, Maluba, Kande, Jungwe, Sambe, Yishino, Sume, Tenzin, Gazola, Soa, De So, Shede, Luro, Jo, Itaka, Jesse, Yeranzo, Losan, Gewa, Yase, Cuba, Raja, Shinge, Kyo, Madu, Tende, Mepa, Jube, Gelezu, Jesse, Dang, Jube, Zinjin, Bewa, Nayam, Mishu, Shepe, Goja, Jensume, Jitsun, Lama, Sowade, Dandu, Jungwe, Goji, Kewa, Tena, Magyo, Joa, Yituna, Chitu, Zumba, Zebe, Molo, Shewa, Shete, Yireban, Jinla, Dang, Jesse, Nanji, Tugi, Labo, Lume, Tembe, Yang, Sabe, Zung, Kesan, Du, Shebe, Du, She, Shu, Rawe, Kowe, Shinkan, De, Benda, De, Wa, Ma, Lu, Jungwe, De, Jere, Sewa, Tenzin, Gyazo, Ye, Shabe, Site, Bado, Tengyo,